Hey guys, my name is Matthew, and today we're going to be talking about lesser known quirks of Great Britain. All right, to start us off, we're going to be talking about 11 quirks of Great Britain. Some of them, 5 of them, are good things that I personally like. The other 5 are things that I personally don't like. It doesn't actually make them good or bad, but we're just going to be going through those 5 things. And there's one leftover quirk at the end that I'm not going to make a judgment on, but I'll let you guys decide what you think. Is it a good quirk? Is it a bad quirk? Who knows? You guys let me know. I did title this video about Great Britain. I know some of you will be mad at me because you'll say, Great Britain, do you mean UK? And some people will be like, Great Britain, do you mean England? That's fine. Drop those comments in the bottom if you want to make fun of me for saying that. But just to explain it, we live in England specifically. We spent quite a bit of time in Scotland and in Wales. So we feel like we understand those areas a lot. We haven't spent as much time in Northern Ireland. So that is kind of why we titled it this way. We know these things are for sure true about Great Britain, but we don't know because we haven't spent as much time in Northern Ireland. So that's about it before we dig right in. The first quirk about Great Britain that I want to talk about is pay toilets. Maybe this is just a dumb American's opinion, but I think that toilets should be free at the point of access. That's a dumb political joke. But in America, I have literally paid for toilets this many times. In public parks or at gas stations, petrol stations for you Brits, you just don't pay for toilets. And in Great Britain, you frequently may have to pay for toilets. It's a chance that you take anytime you go in and need to use a toilet, is that you might end up having to pay for it. I think that is a quirk that is certainly a shame. It's quite annoying. The next quirk that I want to talk about is stoplights. In Great Britain, when you are stopped at a red light, you will watch that red light turn yellow and then green. And that's really nice. It gives you a chance to prepare. It gives you a chance to get ready, especially when you drive a manual transmission like I'm doing currently. It gives you just a half second kind of get ready for the green light to go, and then you go. In the United States, the light goes straight from red to green. There's no preparation. There's no yellow light to let you know. I think that American citizens tend to creep forward a bit at the red light a little bit more often than people in Great Britain, as far as I've noticed, but that may be because of the yellow light. I think it's nice. In Great Britain, you also end up paying for parking a lot more often than in the US. In the US, you literally only pay for parking if you're in like a downtown or a city center, and in the UK, you could pay for parking literally anywhere you go. It's particularly frustrating for me at heritage sites where you end up paying for the National Heritage Site and for parking. You end up double dipping. That's pretty frustrating. Near as I can tell, in all of Great Britain, you have mail slots instead of mailboxes. And I really like that. Maybe it's just the lazy in me, but I enjoyed not having to leave my house to go out to a mailbox to get my mail. I'm sure there are a lot of safety reasons why the US mailbox system, might literally be safer, but I really appreciate that the mail just hits my front mat and I don't have to leave my house to go get it. So the real reason that I get frustrated with pay toilets and paying for a car park and things is not because I think that the money is ridiculous or it's not going to a good cause or something. The real reason is because it forces me to carry cash with me. It's really frustrating when you go to a car park and you walk over to the meter and you're expecting to be able to pay with your card, and instead you have to have coins on you. That is very frequent when you're paying for a toilet or for parking, and it's the main reason that I don't like it. In the US, I travel with normally a credit card, a debit card, and my driver's license. In the UK, I have to travel with those things, plus a residence permit, and I also have to travel with coins because anywhere I go, I may need to use them to use the toilet or to park my car. So I'm just traveling around with extra stuff. It's surprising how many toilets and car park meters don't take card. And I'm like, what century are we in? Come on, let's keep up to date on these things. On the other end, though, the UK is way ahead of us as far as cards go. I think contactless is super convenient. Contactless is the system where you can literally just touch your card to a pay center and it will allow you to pay with using that. In the US, we still largely have to either swipe or insert our cards and enter the PIN and things like that. But in the UK, if it's under £30, you can literally just touch your card to the contactless pay center. It's really nice. Another interesting quirk is how easily people get upset with you making a mistake about the UK or Great Britain or England and using those terms interchangeably. I understand that Great Britain is not the same as England, is not the same as the UK, but people here get really upset if I say that I'm living in England. And they say, you're not living in England, you're living in the UK. And to someone else, I might say, I'm living in the UK. And they'll say, you're not living in the UK, you're living in England. And it's like this you can't win situation. It's quite frustrating. It's an interesting quirk. I, again, just don't quite understand it. I know that it's political at some level, but it is something that as an American, I feel like I'm constantly walking on eggshells and I just can't win. So I was a bit cheeky when I named this video about Great Britain instead of the UK or England. We'll see how that goes in the comments section. Another quirk I love about Great Britain is Blackberry season. From like the mid to end of summer to the middle of autumn, blackberries are out. That means you can go walking on paths in the woods or even in the cities and just find blackberry bushes all over the place. It's fun to walk along and snack. My daughter and I love picking blackberries together, and it's one of the really cool things about Great Britain that we really love. It's a wonderful quirk. Another one that's not necessarily annoying, but it's just hard to get used to, is the phrase, "Are you alright?" It's something that someone will just kind of throw out as like a greeting, like, "Are you all right?" And the answer is like, "Yeah, I'm all right." It's the same as like, "How are you?" or "How do you do?" or "What's up?" But it is a question that always takes me off guard, and I always have to think about it for a second before I say, "Oh yeah, I'm good. How about you?" The last great quirk that we have is British slang. It's amazing how creative Brits are with the language, and if you want to spend just an hour just messing around on the internet, type in British slang funny into Google and you will have a great time. The creativity and just the way that they string words together and make new words, they're very vivid in their imagery and it's very interesting, especially some of the insults. They're funny. Okay, the last quirk that I promised, the super bonus 11th quirk, it's the British art of subtext or understatement. It's when they use word modifiers like quite, and they say, "Oh yeah, the food is quite good." And it leaves you wondering, do they mean that the food is wonderful, or do they mean that the food is awful? It's not clear, and unless you're listening carefully or if you have some context, it can be impossible to know. Another example would be, "Oh yeah, we had a terribly good time." And again, do they mean that they had a wonderful time, or do they mean that they had an awful time? It's not clear unless you have a bit of context or if you listen carefully to their voice. For an American who's just moved here, it can be quite tricky to follow conversation and understand exactly what's going on. You may not even be aware that it's happening. It's a fun way to communicate, and it can result in very humorous conversation. But sometimes British irony or sarcasm can get a bit mean as well. So it has a good side and a bad side. It's not particularly clear all the time, but it does add for some intrigue and makes for much more interesting conversation. So these are the 11 British quirks that we have noticed since being here. Let us know in the comments if you know of some other British quirks that are interesting, or if you've experienced any of these ones yourself. We put out new content every single week, so we'd love to see you back here again next week. And until then, we'll see you next time.